What's up, guys? If you're an NBA fan like me and you heard about this controversy, you may have been confused about what actually happened. And because of that, in this video, I'm going to try to explain what actually happened. So this all started out with alleged statements that Chris Paul made. According to Yahoo Sports, Chris Paul stated that his relationship with James Harden was, quote, unsalvageable. I thought this was crazy because the Rockets legitimately had a shot at getting to the finals this next season due to the fact that Klay Thompson and Kevin Durant are both probably out for the entire season. There was a video that was put out on Bleacher Report's Instagram. It was a video from, I believe, earlier this season that showed Chris Paul and James Harden arguing. I couldn't quite tell what they were arguing about, but the main point is that Chris Paul tried to fist bump James Harden, and James Harden just straight up smacked his hand away. So I saw this video, and now I'm thinking, maybe this situation is true. Maybe Chris Paul did demand a trade. Maybe this was a factor that went into his decision. So after this, I looked at Bleacher Report's original post on Chris Paul demanding a trade, and Chris Paul actually commented on that post saying, "That's news to me." This was really confusing to me because I didn't know if Chris Paul was actually going to leave the Rockets or if he had just gotten into a minor disagreement with James Harden or if it was something else. So I was confused for about 2 hours about what had happened, and then finally CBS News had posted a segment or an article about how Chris Paul did not actually request a trade, and they basically said the whole thing was a misunderstanding. And I think that Chris Paul's comment about his relationship with James Harden still is valid, but he hadn't requested a trade. Basically, in conclusion, CP3 did not request a trade, and he's just in a disagreement with James Harden about who knows what. And I mean, nobody likes losing. They lost to the same team 2 years in a row in 7 games. It's just a little frustrating. So I think that they'll be able to get back on track and make a deep playoff run next season. And even with this being said, the Rockets' future is still uncertain, meaning we still don't know if Clint Capella is going to be traded or if Chris Paul himself will be traded, because after the loss to the Warriors, the Rockets GM was talking about potential trades for the entire roster except for James Harden. I don't know how much the Rockets could actually get for Chris Paul, considering that he still has a couple years left on his contract and he's being paid a lot, and that he's 34 years old. So in that case, I think they should just stick with Chris Paul and James Harden and try to get a ring out of this, especially because the Warriors are pretty much out of contention. Now, Clint Capella is a different story. He is still relatively young at 25. He shot just above 60% from the field and from the free throw line, which is pretty impressive for a big man, especially the free throw percentage. He averaged 12.7 rebounds per game, 16.6 points, and 1.5 blocks. These are pretty impressive stats from a center who probably hasn't even hit his prime yet. He's making around $16 million a year for 4 years, which is actually a pretty decent deal. It's not too much salary cap as opposed to James Harden's max contract and Chris Paul making $38 million for the next 2 years. So I think you might be able to get a decent player if you package Capella and Gordon, or Capella and Tucker, or Capella and a future first. But at the same time, why not just try out your roster this season, see what happens, because there's no real crazy threat of the Warriors. I mean, they still have Steph Curry, but it's not the super team anymore. There's the Lakers, who have Anthony Davis now, but we don't know how good LeBron and AD will play together. There's the Nuggets, my favorite team, who have a decent chance of signing somebody in free agency. But at the same time, the Rockets are looking pretty good if they keep this roster to get to the finals, maybe win the finals, depending on how they match up against the Raptors if Kawhi stays, the Bucks depending on if they can keep their players and how Giannis plays. I think CBS News rated the Rockets at the 4th or 5th best odds. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it was one of those. And yeah, those are pretty good odds, I think. So we'll just have to wait and see. The season still has not started yet. We haven't even seen the draft, let alone free agency. And yeah, that about wraps it up. Thank you for watching the video. Please leave a like and subscribe, and have a great day.